And the first thing I wanted to talk about was the Ghostbusters reveal. So there's a new Ghostbusters game out there. If you haven't heard about it, it's called Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed. They revealed it early this week. I want to say it was like Monday or Tuesday. Kind of woke up to the news and watched the trailer. And this is developed by Illfonic. So if that studio sounds familiar, it's because they also did Friday the 13th and the PlayStation exclusive Predator Hunting Grounds. I think both those games kind of had nice followings, mostly Friday the 13th. That was kind of a nice phenomenon for a while, especially on Twitch. I know a lot of people stream that. Some still do as well. So it's unsurprisingly, the game is along those lines of their predecessors. So that doesn't surprise me too much. And this is a game that's coming out later this year, slated for holiday 2020. And like I mentioned, like the Friday the 13th and Predator Hunting Grounds game, it is an asymmetrical 4v1 multiplayer game where players will either be a team of 4 in the Ghostbusters, or you'll play a ghost who will try to take down the Ghostbusters and vice versa. So it's got that kind of signature Illfonic asymmetric multiplayer. And then you can customize your characters. You can prepare for missions at the firehouse, which sounds absolutely awesome. And then they also mentioned that Ernie Hudson is back. So the voice of Winston Zedmore is back. And that's super awesome. I love it. And one thing that really, really made me happy is that one of the articles I was reading up on this said you can also play solo against AI. And I've talked about it in the past, but if you know me, I'm not big on multiplayer games. So having the ability to kind of just play it by myself is fantastic. Now with this reveal, I got to say I'm pretty excited. I was very excited. I liked what I saw because the game's showing off like a first-person Ghostbuster perspective. And I think that is just fantastic. I love it. It's never been done before. I am all for it. And I got to say this. I got to preface this that I am a lifelong Ghostbusters fan. Ever since I was a little kid in the early 90s, just loving the Ghostbusters. Like I watched the cartoon, I watched the movies over and over. I had all the toys, like the proton pack, the trap, all that stuff. And I actually still have my original trap and, the part of the gun of the proton pack still to this day. And it's actually kind of awesome because my son has actually been playing with the gun from my original Ghostbusters toy. And he knows what Ghostbusters is. And my grandma actually made me a Ghostbusters jumpsuit as a kid. So like I was all in. That was my jam. And I also got to say that, I think the first Ghostbusters movie is probably my favorite movie of all time. It's one of those movies that I could just watch over and over and over again. And back in 2014, it was my first time actually going to PAX West up in Seattle. That was I believe it was the 30th, and it was like I think it was the 30th anniversary of Ghostbusters being released, because it was released in 1984. And so they re-released it in theaters, and actually when we were up there that first night, it was at one of the theaters in downtown Seattle. And so I was like, we had nothing else really going on. So I was like, I want to go see this. So I've seen the original Ghostbusters theater, albeit 30 years later, in the movie theaters. And it was awesome. Such a cool experience. I loved it. I love that movie. I love the Ghostbusters. And I got to say this, that the original Ghostbusters game, or not the original Ghostbusters game, but the 2009 Ghostbusters game. It was called Ghostbusters the video game. I think it was by Atari. I think Atari published it or something like that. And then they remastered it, brought it back in 2019 to Xbox One and PS4. And that game is awesome. By the way, if you've never played that game, it is heralded as like the third Ghostbusters movie. And this is pre-Ghostbusters Afterlife, that recent one that just came out. And it has the original cast, so Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, rest in peace, Bill Murray, and Ernie Hudson, reprising all of their original Ghostbusters roles. And you just played through this campaign. They kind of rehashed some of the stuff from the first movie, which, is what it is. But it was great. if I'm not mistaken, that game was also written by Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd too, which is so cool. Like I love that game. And one thing I actually really liked about it, which again, I'll bring it back to the multiplayer new Ghostbusters game, is that the Ghostbusters video game had multiplayer in it back on the 360 and PS3. And that multiplayer was fantastic. Like it was freaking awesome. And I played the crap out of it. And basically what you do is you go on missions with other players online and you'd capture ghosts for money, and you'd either compete to see who can get the most money or capture the most ghosts, or you'd kind of do it cooperatively to, do different challenges and stuff like that. And one of my buddies, Greg, shout out to Greg, if you're listening, appreciate you, man. Him and I used to play online for the Ghostbusters game, and we just fell in love with it. Like it was just so much fun. And I was so disappointed because in 2019, when the remastered came out, it did not come with the online component. And the developers at the time had said, yeah, we're still working out some of the online multiplayer components. That'll come later. And then they just went black, like blackout. Media black. Never saw or heard from them again. So it'll probably, it's been 3 years later? Well, two and a half years later. So we'll never get that, which sucks because that multiplayer was fantastic. So with that, I'm excited for this Ghostbusters Spirit Unleashed reveal. Though, again, I'm not big on those asymmetrical multiplayer games, kind of the 4v1 thing. I'm excited to play, by myself or maybe just team up with some randoms just to try it out. But one of the things that I'd love to see with this game, I don't think we're going to get it, but I'd love to see it, is some sort of like single player campaign. But of course, I'd love that. That'd be awesome. I don't think we're getting that because the other Illfonic's other games don't have that. But when I was watching the trailer for the first time, I was kind of thinking to myself that because of the first person perspective and you're kind of going through halls, corridors in these places as you're kind of hunting down ghosts, I kind of got, and it reminded me of like Rainbow Six Extraction, that latest Rainbow Six game that came out. It's PvE. You and two other of your teammates will go, and you kind of go on missions, and you're taking down aliens and stuff like that. And so I was thinking like that concept I think would really work well for a Ghostbusters game like this, like what we're seeing, first person perspective. You go on missions to go track down different ghosts, and it's like a PvE experience. I just think that would be phenomenal, especially in the first person perspective. I love that. Just you got your proton charger, you're throwing out traps, you're capturing ghosts. You get to level up your character and maybe even get to tweak out the car at the firehouse. Like, it just sounds freaking amazing. And I don't think we're getting that level of detail, but I think with this license, I think you have potential to do more than just, your typical style of game that they've done in the past, that 4v1 multiplayer. But nonetheless, we'll wait and see if it's more than just that. I'm not holding my hopes up, but I think there's potential here. I was excited for the reveal, and I'm definitely keeping my eye on this one because I want to try it out. I'm going to buy it. It looks great, and it should be coming out later this year. So let me know what you guys think about that. Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed from Illfonic. I dig it. Thanks for tuning into this clip from the Gamecite Chronicles podcast. You can tune in new episodes every week, Mondays at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Be sure to drop a like, subscribe, and leave a rating on your favorite podcast platform. And until next time, I'm Bonfire, and I will see you online.